Shalom. This is Rabbi Reflects on the news for August 30th. You can also read this on my blog, which will be listed when you look up this video. Several very important, interesting stories that I think have a lot of implications spiritually and religiously. First, the Chicago Bears outstanding linebacker, Lance Briggs, he held out all summer because he was upset the Bears slapped a franchise tag on him, would only pay him $7 million plus this year. Finally went back. And so this week he crashed his $350,000 sports car and then reported later, much later, to the police that it was stolen, and then called back 10 minutes later and said, no, didn't tell the truth the first time, I'm owning up to my responsibility. So there are several important pieces to this story. First, I mentioned in my last one about drunk driving and how Illinois now has a new law for first-time offenders that you have to breathe into your car to get it started after you're convicted. Now, we don't know if Lance Briggs was drinking, but pro athletes 3 a.m. in the morning crashing $350,000 sports cars. On top of this, the Bears let go one of their linemen, Tank Johnson, after gun possessions and then drunk driving arrest. Interesting story. Now, another piece to this is about too much money. Are we paying people too much? Some people have too much. Leanna Helmsley, the hotel lady, died, and she's being buried in a $1.4 million mausoleum. And then the story about the New York Great Gatsby type estate where this couple had a dream that they would have all their family together in one estate. So now the old man died, the widow is left in the decrepit main mansion, and all the rest of the family, according to the New York Times, are in houses on this estate that are all bickering and fighting. And then you had the First Lady of New York, Mrs. Astor, who died. Before she died at like 104, her grandson was suing her son, the boy's father, for mistreating the old lady. And on top of that, they just found supposedly a 7,000 carat diamond the size of a softball. So somebody's going to put that on their ring and say, I got the world's biggest diamond. So that's the question of whether too much money corrupts absolutely. A second story was about the rankings of colleges. Came out again, and of course I cut it out because my college, University of Chicago, was ranked tied for 9th. But what's really interesting, I think, spiritually is that colleges get this top ranking partly on how many people they exclude, and whereas synagogues and religious communities should get their highest ranking on how many people they include. Third story was Tom Friedman's column in the New York Times, where he talked about using time clocks or watches as a metaphor. And he said, the American watch, every second we're there is too long. For the Shiite watch, it's like broken. You have to keep tapping it to make sure it's working. And the Sunni watch seems to be running backwards towards a time when Hussein was in charge. And I was thinking about that based on a Hasidic story in a wonderful new book that Rabbi Ed Feinstein edited, where he tells the story about a Hasidic clock which only counted time one way, towards redemption. So with such a broken world, we need to have a clock that counts towards redemption, not a doomsday clock. And the final piece I wanted to talk about is about apologies. You think about Lance Briggs and his apology after lying to the police. Then you have this Senator Craig, who first confessed, pled guilty to soliciting men in an airport bathroom, and now claims that he confessed because his mind was all for a rebuttal, we say in Yiddish, all confused because of the relentless pressure of the Idaho press looking into his personal life. And it seems to most people that he's not telling the truth this time. I won't own up to what he did, and people are calling for resignation. Then you had this astronaut lady, Nowick, who drove across country, remember, to hurt supposedly another astronaut because of a third astronaut that they were both crazy about, and she's going to plead temporary insanity, not owning up to what she did. And in light of all this, there's an interesting book by a woman named Diana West that was reviewed in the New York Times that's called The Death of the Grown-Up. And basically she suggests that most American sort of middle-aged people now with kids are acting as children. And the whole book's about that. And that people refuse really to own up to adult responsibility, not like it was a generation ago. Thinking about that in terms of think about the heroes we have in our culture today. You have Michael Vick and the dog situation where he trains dogs to kill and then kills the ones that don't win, and the Tour de Farce instead of the Tour de France, and you had the home run thing sullied by possible drugs, and then all these football players. But one of the stories I found most interesting was in Nashville, they're giving a new teacher's dress code because of the problems of teachers coming in torn and ripped clothing, beach wear, see-through blouses. Finally, a really beautiful story about Ethiopia, sending as its ambassador to recruit tourists and to build up its image, its oldest citizen, 3.3 million year old bag of bones, Lucy. And when I thought about that was in the context of Judaism needing to send out for tourism and for building its reputation, but really to helping the world set itself straight. Not our oldest bag of bones, but an old piece of paper, animal skin actually, with words on it, holy words written by God called the Torah. Shalom.